Good morning, everyone. We are continuing here in the words of the PELE YOETZ, and we are going to conclude the chapter on Pesach today. And he writes, V'hine Seder Mitzvahs Leil Pesach. The order of the mitzvahs that we have on the night of Pesach. Rabbi Sidrum, Rabbi Seinu Zichron V'rocha B'Seder Kadesh Orchatz. As we know, our Rabbi Seinu, our great sages of the earlier generations, many believe that it was the Tanoim from the authors of the Mishnah and the Gemara as well that were the ones who ended up writing the Haggadah. And therefore, what did they do? They were Masada, they put into an order. The night of the Seder, Seder itself means order. So there is a Seder, there is an order that we go through the night of Pesach by the Seder. Kadesh, all the whole beautiful song that we sing. And it's a whole lengthy Seder that we're supposed to go through, and we have to hit upon each one of those points because each one is central to being able to glean the messages of the night of the Sedarim. Unfortunately, says the PELE YOETZ, in our time, now he's going back in his time, I assume that it's even more right now. There are many people that are Am Ha'aretz, that they are ignorant when it comes to exactly what the halachas are, what the Haggadah means, what is the Seder of Kadesh, Orchat, so on and so forth. They just never learned fully, they don't understand it fully, not clear exactly what's going on. Ki lo yadu mahu. They don't know what it means. V'roi leilech etzel chacham. And therefore it's fitting for such a person who doesn't understand exactly what he's doing the night of the Seder, not clear what are the messages, what are all the main points, what are the mitzvahs that we're engaged in, he should go to a chacham, to a wise person, to a wise Torah scholar. Shilamdenu v'lirshaim b'ksav las. And this chacham, this scholar, should teach this fellow, and he should write down in ksav las, in whatever language he speaks. The Haggadah is written in Hebrew, and there's some Aramaic that's in there as well. The average American doesn't really understand Hebrew or Aramaic so well. So how are they going to understand the Haggadah? How are they going to go through it? So they should write down in Ksav Las, they should write down in the language that they speak, Liyois Lezikaroin, to remind themselves, L'kayim kol davar kedas ma'alaseis, that they can fulfill every single mitzvah on the night of the Seder. We here in Chutz La'aretz, outside the land of Israel, we have 2 nights to go through the Seder, and we have to do it in the right way. And therefore, says the PELE YOETZ, he's leaving off with this message. It's so important that a person understands what they're doing and what they're saying on the night of the Seder. It's so intrinsic to being able to glean the messages and the chizuk and the inspiration and the hisoirus and the elevated state of spirituality that a person can be in if you understand what you're doing. It's not just a feeling you sit down at the Seder and voila, suddenly I'm elevated and catapulted to a high level of ruchnius. If you understand what you are doing on the night of the Seder, the words make sense to you. The ideas and the concepts are something that you can digest in the right way. So then you'll be able to do davar kedas malasas. You'll be able to do it in the way that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants. And that is why, Baruch Hashem, we live in a generation where with the advent of Art Scroll and Feldheim and many other publishing companies, we have hundreds, literally hundreds of Haggadahs that are translated and printed in the English language or whatever language you speak. I believe they have even in Russian and Spanish and Farsi and the like. You can find whatever language you need in order that you could get the kishkas out, get the inner meaning out of the Haggadah. It has simple translation. It has commentary that goes along with it. It will often describe some of the earlier commentaries that we have on the Haggadah. It will translate that into English as well. And stories that you can get in there in English so you can understand the more emotional aspect of that which is going on in that part of the Seder. And this is important. A person can't say over the Haggadah in Hebrew if they have no idea what they are saying. I just heard last night that the certain Adam Gadol, a very great tzaddik of a person in the generation who passed away, maybe it's already about 10 years ago, his name was Rav Shlomo Brevda Zecher Tzadik Livracha. when he would lead a Seder for Americans and for the children that would not understand the Hebrew language of the Haggadah, he would have them go around the table and read the Haggadah in English. Can you imagine? A great tzaddik reading the Haggadah in English? Okay. As they were reading in English, he would read it in Hebrew underneath his breath so that he would be able to read all the words of the Haggadah. But he wanted to make sure that everybody that was there would understand the words of the Haggadah. Many of the sages we find from previous generations in Europe and the like, they used to read the Haggadah and they would translate every single word into Yiddish because that's what the people in their home understood. And therefore you got to understand. If you don't understand Hebrew, get yourself a good Haggadah with English that makes sense to you, that talks to you, that resonates inside of you. And that way you can fulfill the mitzvahs properly. Zeh klal gadol. This is a major principle in Yiddishkeit. Hoylech el chachamim yecham. Someone who goes to the chachamim, to the sages, to wise people, they will become wise. V'zeh kol ha'adam, and that's what a human being's life is all about. Life is about yecham, getting more and more Torah wisdom in our lives. Like the Rabbi Yonah writes in Pirkei Avos, Ezeu chacham, who is a wise man? Haloi made mikol adam, someone who learns from everybody. Wait a second, if you're wise, why do you have to go and learn from everybody? If you're a chacham, that means you should have all the knowledge. What do you need to go and learn from any single person on the street? That would seem to be an admittance that you don't have the knowledge that you are to be a chacham, to be a wise man. Says the Rabbi Yonah over there, you don't understand. Someone who loves chachma, someone who loves wisdom, someone who wants to live their life in a wise way, they can never get enough chachma, enough wisdom in their life. They'll look to grab it and to get it and to glean it from anyone that they can possibly come in contact with that has wisdom to share with them. A real chacham, a real person of wisdom, of especially of Torah wisdom and knowledge, is someone that is looking and seeking and searching for another way to get another morsel, another tidbit of Torah wisdom. That's why we're called Talmidei Chachamim. A Torah scholar is not called a Torah scholar in Hebrew. He is a Talmud, a student of Chachma, of wisdom. A Torah scholar is a student of wisdom, always looking and searching for more of the wisdom. And with that, we conclude the chapter of Pesach, which is to remind us and to give us this final idea. You come to the Seder, you got to know what you're talking about. You have to understand, we're supposed to walk away as wise men and women the night after the Seder. How do we do that? If you understand and you get into it and the discussion ensues and you're able to go deeper into the ideas and the midrashim and the commentaries and the words of the Haggadah, you will leave the Seder as a person of great wisdom, a person of chachma, which is exactly what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants from a Jew, because as the PELE YOETZ concludes, V'zeh kol ha'adam, that's what life is really all about. Have a wonderful day and a wonderful Shabbos.